And now I would like to invite...
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm very glad that all of you were brave enough to come and hear the most dangerous woman in America. You know, J. Edgar Hoover or one of his henchmen may be here tonight to arrest me, because I've been told that I'm only supposed to speak about my book, not about my politics or the philosophy of anarchism. And of course, J. Edgar Hoover might be any one of you ladies and gentlemen. I understand he wears some very strange costumes. Now I ask you, what has my life been about? Politics and anarchism. So as I discuss my book, which is called Living My Life, some of my ideas might just leak out. And these might teach you something that you will leave with, such as that anarchism is not inherently a violent philosophy, that communist anarchism is not the same thing as Bolshevik communism, and that free love is not the same thing as free sex, as some gentlemen in the audience sometimes think. So these are the things that might leak out as I discuss my life with you. Now, I consider myself born at the age of 20 when I went to New York to become an anarchist. Actually, I was born in Kovno, Lithuania, 20 years before that. And people have asked me, did you get your revolutionary ideas from there? Because at that time, Lithuania was part of Russia. Or were they devised by some other means? Well, there were many forms of oppression that I did see there. I saw peasants being mistreated by the wealthy and by the authorities. My father, who was a Jewish businessman, was forced to move from here to there, pay special taxes. So those were two forms of oppression that I saw. But what affected me most deeply was the oppression that I felt at home. My father said, a girl does not have to have an education. He threw my French grammar books into the fire. I had wanted to become a doctor. And at the age of 16, he wanted to marry me off, which was traditional in those times. And I said, no, I want to go to America. My sister Helena had immigrated there with her husband to Rochester, New York. And he said, no, you won't. And I said, yes, I will, or I will drown myself in the river. And I went to America. I arrived in 1886, the year that the Statue of Liberty raised her hand in the harbor, standing for freedom and liberty for all. But what did I find in America? I found that the American police were just as nasty to the immigrants as their German or Russian counterparts. And then when I started working in a factory, and I had been working in a factory in Russia too, the girls in America were not allowed to talk with each other or sing as their Russian counterparts were. They even had to raise their hands to go to the lavatory. And this was in America, land of the free. And then, when I paid my sister Helena some room and board and paid for car fare, there was nothing left. So I went to my boss and I asked for a raise, and he said, you're fired. Well, he actually did me a favor, because I found out that he had been asking the young girls and the women for sexual favors, and had I turned him down, he would have fired me anyway. So this was just in advance, and I did find a better job at more pay, and we worked to bring the rest of the family over. My parents arrived, and perhaps to get away from my family again, I entered into a marriage, this time of my own choosing. It was a mistake. It was passionless. I found out that my passion was for anarchism. I was inspired by what happened with the Haymarket martyrs. They were executed simply for their ideas about anarchism. There was absolutely no proof that they had ever set bombs. This was in Chicago in 1887, and 2 years later I went to New York to become an anarchist. I quickly met Alexander Berkman, who became my lover, and Johann Most, who became my mentor. Now, Berkman and I have been together now for over 40 years. We are comrades. It's true that the passion died from our relationship after the first several years, but we have common values and respect each other. How many marriages can you say have lasted over 40 years on that basis? Now, I've been much criticized for saying that marriage is a form of prostitution. But I ask you, don't women often go to the man who earns the most money because they want to be supported? And what's the difference between a shorter form of prostitution and a longer form, which is marriage? I'm not against love. I believe that love is the glue that holds society together. But I don't believe that the church or the state have any right to mix into it. And that is why I don't believe in marriage. In any case, Johann Most became my mentor. He taught me to lecture with aggression, with passion, and with humor. And at my current age of 64, some people think that only the humor is left, but they'll see that there are teeth in this old tiger yet. Now, Berkman and I